to my guest on the broadcast, Mr. Subhash Chandra Garg, who's a former Finance Secretary, Government of India, is with us on the broadcast this evening. Also with us is Mr. Jiten Jain, who's a cyber law expert. And last but not the least, Khushbu Jain, who's the founding partner of ARC Legal and also an advocate, is also joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Garg, let me begin with you. What, after this decision of the 28% tax levy, how do you think it is going to be impacting the online gaming industry, the fast booming industry? Do you think that the worries from the gaming industry stakeholders are real?
See, the most damaging part of the decisions which the GST Council made is to treat or bring the online gaming at par with the betting and gambling and the horse racing, and deny the exemption which is available to the actionable claims like loans and others, on which the GST is not levied on the principal amount of the actionable claim. Now, how it works out is that if you're playing an online game,
yes,
where you're depositing, let's say, 100 rupees, and out of which the platform which has provided the online gaming services gets about 10 rupees or so, and 90 rupees goes to the prize pool. Now, with this change which is being proposed, the GST would be levied on 100 rupees, which is at 28%, 28 rupees of GST,
yes,
whereas the GST platform is getting or creating the value of only rupees 10, which is what it is getting. And therefore, literally, this change which has been proposed makes the GST not 28%, but about 20 to 280% of the value added. GST is levied on the value added, not on the amount of the actionable claim. 28% decision is not all that significant. It makes difference, but the biggest hit is this decision. I think this will impact the gaming industry very badly. The online gaming is the future of entertainment, future of gaming. All the gamers as well as the people who have time on their hands use it for their entertainment. This, if it stays, will hurt it very badly. I think it's a very, very poor decision.
Okay. Khushbu Jain, do you think the GST Council did not really take into account all of these aspects before really deciding on that 28% tax levy? Something that's been mentioned by Mr. Garg?
See, let me put my opinion into it. I would say that a lot of deliberation happened when imposing of a 28% of a GST on the online gaming industry, and there was a fair example of casinos that we have, that how two states in the country earn so much of revenue, levied on the casino, and how others are being left aside because now online gaming.
Okay, some problem with that link. Jiten Jain, would you like to come in here?
See, I'm not a cyber law expert. I am a cyber security expert.
Okay.
But let me come to the core of the problem.
Sure.
First of all, whether we go to buy, see a movie or watch a play at the theater, we always pay GST at the full value. Now, the movie theater could also claim that, look, I have bought a movie from the producer from 90 rupees. So if I'm selling you a ticket on 100, I will leave GST only on the value added, which is 10 rupees. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to pay GST at the full value. That's number one. Second, all these companies they themselves decided that they will deduct 18% GST as a service on that 10 rupees, what they were saying as this is our original revenue. Who decided it was 10%? Because these companies thought that we can sell online gaming and this gambling as a service. First of all, this is not a service, this is purely a digital satta. So it cannot be equated with essential commodities or service, number one. Number two, I think all this shroud of cooked up arguments which are nicely designed PR releases that will lead to job losses, tax cuts, hamper industry. Let me ask you, which is the most popular game in India? PUBG. Owned by a foreign company. How much tax do they pay in India last 3 years? Nil. what is the level of addiction? People are paying for 6 hours, the highest number of users. So let us not, cook up these theories with a nicely worded PR. This third question I want to ask. You see, now chickens have come host to roost. I agree with the argument, which is raised that you cannot equate skill-based game with the chance-based games, with the sattas. The problem is for 10 years, they managed, I'm sorry to say, they managed the whole bureaucratic ecosystem and the setup in India by getting some favorable orders from some court, by convincing the judge or confusing the judge, I would say.
No, but
where
can that argument not be used against the GST Council? Did the government also not allow them to proliferate for 10 years? Why 10 years?
Let me complete, madam.
Yes.
All these attempts to sell, digital satta gambling, games like Dream 11 as game of skills. Now, if that is a game of skill, then the government has decided there is no actually way to differentiate between a game of skill and a game of chance. So let's put everything together in the same basket. Okay. Now, because of this false narrative of selling game of, chance as game of skill, the original game of skill innovators will also suffer. I think what government should have done, they should have actually banned this digital sattas. Only states where casino gambling and this money, gambling is allowed, this game of chance could be allowed, and government should have clearly differentiated what is a game of skill and what is a game of chance. Now, because no one want to get into that whole problem of jugglery of game of skill and game of chance, government decided that instead of going into that, let's put everything in the same basket. Okay. So I think what industry tried to make most of it by selling this satta as game of skill. Okay. Now they have to pay 28% tax, and government has indicated all these things are sattas and gambling, and they will be equated as the same way.
Jiten, got your point. Mr. Garg, I'd like you to come in here. Is there a policy inconsistency in this case? 10 years they decide whether it is a game of skill or not, and then they put a 28% tax levy saying that let's put all eggs in the same basket, quoting by what Jiten is saying. But don't you think there should have been done earlier? And is this not going to be spooking foreign investors from coming into India, or for that matter, these Indian startups? Because most of these industries are SMEs, small and medium industries that are there. Would they not, in fact, branch out, probably start functioning out of India, go to a country like a Singapore, Dubai, and function out of there? Even that has been presented as an argument by all the fantasy sports.
I think let's first get the main issue raised by our co-panelist out of the way.
Yes.
When you give an example of a movie ticket proceeds which the theatre owner gets it, that entire receipt is there, the theatre's income. 90% of that doesn't go back to the contributors as their prize money. Therefore, equating the movie proceeds with the online platform's receipt of what the platform receipt receives in the form of revenue is an entirely wrong. This is actionable claim. The equation is when you borrow from someone or the bank lends to you, the bank doesn't pay GST on the amount lent or even on the amount received as interest payments. The bank pays GST on what it receives as its own service charges. That is what is the equation. And that is what complicates the entire situation most. I think we must not get into this trap of treating the online gaming as an actionable claim, out of the actionable claim, and levy the tax on the entire amount which is given as deposit. Okay. So that's the first point, I think. Now, the second issue, which is getting raised and to my mind acts to the confusion in the entire system, is this game of skills versus the game of chance.
Yes.
There is a very legitimate argument that the games of chance are very close to gambling, or you may call it speculation or betting. And the game of chance, game of pure chance, are something which may be morally reprehensible as well. However, if the tax authorities want to tax that kind of morally reprehensible income or the value added, it can tax at a higher rate.